Welcome to another episode of Ask the Zamboni Experts podcast. We have a special guest this week from the American Hockey League, Vice President of Hockey Operations, Hayley Moore. Hayley and I know each other a little bit, as she's also my other boss, skating in the American League as a Lions person as well. So welcome, Hayley.
Thanks, Logan. Happy to be here. Nice to see you wearing a different hat today.
Appreciate that. So, Hayley, just to get started, you have a very unique perspective and background. Can you kind of let the people know about your hockey journey and how you got to where you are in the American Hockey League right now? You know, you grew up playing hockey, and what's your background? How'd you get started?
Yeah, I've been playing hockey, I guess, for as long as I can remember. I asked for hockey equipment for my 4th birthday, and my parents delivered. So the rest is kind of history from there. I fell in love with the game at a really early age. Played growing up, played boys hockey, played girls hockey. Went to boarding school in the New England area, and then ultimately, got to play in college and have that opportunity. When I graduated college, there really was no professional women's hockey in North America. I played overseas in Switzerland for a season right after I graduated from college hockey, and really I kind of thought that I was going to have to just like hang up my skates and put the game behind me once I got to that point. I never really thought about a career off the ice, and slowly but surely I realized that I needed hockey to be kind of the centerpiece of my life professionally as well. So, I started taking on some volunteer coaching, and ultimately then was full-time coaching, slided over to management, and helped start the National Women's Hockey League just about 10 years ago now. And, I worked in that league for 6 years in a few different positions, both on the team and the league side. And then, just almost 4 years ago now, joined the American Hockey League as Vice President of Hockey Operations. So I've been really fortunate to be able to have a career in hockey, and I just love the sport and have a huge passion for it. So really whatever way I can continue to stay involved is kind of what's led the way for me.
Awesome. I mean, again, we all love this game, and we're connected to it in some way, shape, or form. And, we all kind of started that same way. When skating, putting those skates on and going from there. Part of my job was Zamboni, right? I'm selling these machines and I'm moving around the country. I remember as a little kid, I used to see the machine, and it was a bigger part of the game than the game probably was to me as a real little guy. And obviously that changed as you get older. Do you have any early on Zamboni stories that you remember as a kid, kind of growing up and seeing the machine?
It's funny because there's a few different things that sort of pop into your mind. Full disclosure, I've never been on or driven a Zamboni. That's still on the bucket list. But I feel like even just in the early days, you remember when the Zamboni's on the ice, you're scrambling to get ready. You're like, oh no, that means we're on the ice in 10 minutes. And, it's just I felt like the Zamboni was that indicator of the beginning of your ice session coming, and, kind of sparked the excitement around starting to get out on the ice, and I look forward to every time I got to go on the ice. So it was sort of that for me, kind of a symbol of beginning each session, and then conversely, I guess I was that person, especially in high school and college. I can remember, staying on the ice until the Zamboni kicked me off. So I feel like, to me, it sort of almost indicated when I got to go out on the ice, and then, staying out every last second I could until, I had to get off the ice and let the Zamboni do its work. So that's what I think of when I think of a Zamboni.
Nice. So, Hayley, a big part of your job working with the officials and player safety and things of that sort, how big of a role is ice quality and a Zamboni machine and the technology and even a push down from the NHL? How does that kind of contribute to your role and the things that you look at when you walk into the rings, just as far as player safety wise?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, ice quality is a huge piece of, making sure that the game moves on safely and it has a high quality product on the ice. So, it's a constantly changing space too, that with technology these days, I know you guys are constantly innovating, but for us on the league side, it's, we want to make sure that we're continuing to increase the minimum standards of expectations for our ice quality, and with various different markets and different teams and resources. That's something that, we constantly try to improve on each day. So it's a big piece of what we do. And, it's one of those things that you hope you never have to think about on a game day, and that everything's just prepared. And, similarly to the officials, you just hope you're not a factor in the game. So that's, something that we continue to look at and improve upon each year.
I guess my other question is just being affiliated with the NHL, how much does the NHL push down to different technology and things that are coming? Perfect example is Fast Ice is the new spray boom system that goes on the back, this pressurized water system. 19 teams in the league right now currently have it for the NHL. Is that something you're seeing around the American League that's coming as well? Do you have any thoughts on it, or do you have any experience with it at all?
For me, definitely something I need to be more educated on. So hopefully you can help with that. But a lot of this we see at the team level from our side of things. Like so many of our teams are, managed and operated by the NHL club. Every team is affiliated with an NHL team. So in many cases, like the overlap in the arena and resources is going to happen naturally between the NHL and AHL team. But it does make a difference a little bit between market and things like that. So, I think constantly our GMs are coming to me and saying, hey, our NHL team is doing this. Can we do it too? And, we really believe in this technology, and it's working so great for our team. So like, can we mandate it across the board? So those are the types of things that I tend to deal with. A lot of it is coming from the teams and then sort of getting pushed up to the league. And ultimately that's starting with the NHL and sort of filtering down through us that way. But there's certainly a lot of conversation from the league side as well. The NHL is constantly, pushing their minimum standards to us. And when there's new technology coming on the market or that they're looking to implement at their level, they're sure that we're aware of it and see if it's something that within our resources we can implement as well.
Very cool. So you just got done with another Calder Cup, being Hershey and Coachella 2 years in a row. They're very different environments, and that type of stuff does affect the ice. Had a similar conversation in the NHL. Florida and Edmonton, very different environments. Obviously, you're into the summertime, so it's very hot, very warm. Were there any challenges during the Calder Cup time between Hershey and PA being a little bit of a humid climate, Coachella, obviously a very dry climate, but both of them were very, very hot during that time. Did you guys have any kind of challenges that you guys faced ice quality wise, or challenges, things of that sort?
It was certainly like a check-in that we did on a daily basis, depending on which market we were in. Surprisingly, I would say, Hershey had more trouble with their ice quality than Coachella. Coachella being a brand new arena, and being more prepared for the weather that we face in June. And Hershey, a market that doesn't necessarily have to deal with those extreme temperatures year round. So, it was a touch point that we had every day, and we really kind of rely on our officials and our in-arena operations crews to really be the eyes and ears for us and making sure that we were ready to go. But luckily, we didn't have anything extreme happen. We were always well prepared, but it was something that we were constantly aware of. So no issues for either market, but it was just a constant struggle, especially in June when you're playing hockey and that heat in either arena that you just want to make sure you keep an eye on.
Nice. You watch a lot of hockey. So is there anything memorable from this Calder Cup versus last year's, especially since it's a rematch this year? Anything stand out to you?
This one was so interesting because there was that sort of like that hype all season long. And especially as we got into the second half of the season of like, oh, wow, like this might be a rematch here. And then you get into playoffs and anything can happen. And what I remember the most, I think, is the Cleveland Hershey series and just what it took for Hershey to move on from the conference finals. That almost felt like a Calder Cup final, that series with, so many overtime games going to game 7. It had a similar feel to what we had in the Calder Cup finals the previous year. So, it was interesting to kind of see everything come together. And then once we we actually ultimately ended up with Coachella and Hershey back in the Calder Cup finals, it was this feeling of deja vu and, walking through everything that we had the previous year. And, I think that the fans were really happy that it was able to deliver that way, and they did not disappoint in either arena. I mean, it was an incredible environment in both, so it was just really fun to be along for the ride of all of that and kind of see and feel the excitement among the fan base. But yeah, there was definitely a sense of deja vu, and I would say the biggest difference was that conference final feel.
Very cool. Very cool. So sticking on the hockey topic, what advice would you give to the young aspiring hockey professionals, whether their careers come to an end as a skater and they're looking to get into officiating, or somebody wants to grow and go through the ODP program? Obviously for women with the PWHL, that's growing large as well. How do you get started? What route would you go to get to an American League level, kind of where you're at?
Yeah, I mean, I think what I've learned is that like nobody has the same path anywhere, and it's okay to just kind of follow along with what your passions are. And I think that's at least what's led me to where I am, is just being passionate about each step along the way, like not looking too far ahead, but just really trying to enjoy where you're at and let your passion lead the work that you do every day. But you don't have to look and do something the same way anyone else did. You can do it your own way and just try to stay genuine and true to who you are. And hopefully that will, help keep you happy and fulfilled in each step of your journey. But, for me, like I was somebody who didn't necessarily see a career for myself in hockey when I was finished playing. And I'm so glad that I've had the opportunity to do that. So I think to anyone out there, like, even if you don't see a role that is what you envision for yourself, like you can go out there and create it the way that we did in launching the National Women's Hockey League. We started to spearhead and create the opportunities that didn't exist. So, go out there and create whatever, future you want for yourself, and don't let anyone tell you you can't do it or you don't belong. It's a battle I have with myself every day to a certain extent, right? As a woman full of rooms with men that are running this professional hockey league. But, it's an internal battle, but it's also something of, just showing up every day and letting passion lead, and everyone kind of recognizing that, we're all here for the same reasons. We love this game, and we all have a space to sit at the table.
Absolutely. One of the fun things for me when I was growing up, I grew up in upstate New York, as you know, and I used to go to the Adirondack Red Wings games in Glens Falls, New York, and that was my first hockey experience. Right, there was no NHL team around. You either had to go up to Montreal or down to New York or over to Boston. There was nobody close by. Can you describe kind of what an American League experience is versus an NHL experience for a fan, and for people in their local area? I live in Las Vegas right now, right? Golden Knights games are very, very pricey. For that local family, why should you attend an American League game versus an NHL game?
Yeah, I mean, I think the AHL is certainly really accessible. It gives a little bit more of an intimate experience as a fan. We're in a lot of non-traditional markets as well, or maybe somewhere where you're not in a major city and it's not as, as accessible to like to the common fan to drive hours to get to a major city to go to an NHL game. And I think that that's a huge perk of the AHL, but I think it's a really different sense of community and family. When you go to a game and you feel the energy from our fans, it is a different feel, and it's really cool. And, one of the greatest parts of my job is that I get to visit all of our arenas and get to experience that. But I think that we attract a really unique type of fan as well, and that people who want to be like a part of the community and not just a hockey fan in the building to catch a game. I think it's so much more than that, and that's why I love meeting our fans. I think they're the most dedicated and passionate people out there, and it's so much fun to hear all their stories and how long they've been following teams or what drove them in. But it's definitely a super accessible place to be, a great place to bring your family, your friends, anyone, and I think a pretty welcoming place. So that's what makes me really proud to be a part of the league, and I love going to visit all the buildings and feel the different energy from our fan bases.
Awesome. So one more question before I let you go. So looking ahead, what are your goals and priorities for the future of the American League? And, just you personally for 24, 25. I already got on my list right here. We got to get you on a machine, get you driving this year. But, what else? What are your goals for this year?
Oh, for sure, top of the list. I need to ride a Zamboni. It's never happened. I'm not getting any younger here. We've got to check that one off the bucket list. But I mean, I guess each season, from my perspective, my role, like I want to make sure that we're improving, that we're getting better, we're serving our teams better, and developing and adding more resources to the pipeline. So, we really just finished up our board meetings last weekend. So this is my first week of the off season, and it's a big time of reflection to say, okay, like what did we do well last year? What did we, need to improve from last season? And then, what are those goals and expectations for the year ahead? So, there's a few different areas where, looking to build out subcommittees and work on various projects, areas within hockey operations that I think we can continue to add resources to. And I'm super excited about all those little projects and just trying to continue to do everything that we do well, and not lose sight of that, but to add a few things into the pipeline. So, pretty excited about some of those smaller projects, but we'll have some big goals heading into the next year and just trying to add some resources, hopefully grow our department a little bit over the next year, and really just service our teams and our officials better.
Awesome. Well, thank you. I want to take up too much of your time. I know you're into off season now, and you probably have a well-deserved vacation coming up.
This is my first full weekend off since Labor Day of 2023. I am very excited.
Very nice. Very nice. Well deserved. So,
thanks.
That's all I got for you. So thank you so much. And
Awesome.
Another episode of Ask the Zamboni Experts.
No, thank you so much for having me.